first tank bowl of the season was truly worthy of such a title. And it somehow involves the Texans? Really? Well, with this offensive line, you shouldn't be all that shocked. The game was 3/4 of pain. For the people watching, a truly miserable slog that takes this sport back 100 years with such poor play. But that would imply Houston lost. Oh no, they won easy. The Titans are an automatic bye at this point. I don't exaggerate, it's as if the whole team is flat out quiet quit. They don't give a shit about a damn thing. They don't execute, they don't hustle, they don't scheme, they aren't motivated, and I certainly wouldn't either if I had this doofus leading the charge. Every week Brian Callahan and his cronies are still employed is a travesty to the league. He gave up play calling and they're getting worse. Kim Ward's being ruined in real time. He's developing terrible habits inside this shithole. When the modern Texans look competent in comparison, you've lost the plot. Nuke the Titans for Morbid. It's the only thing that will truly wipe everything clean. You're right, Ken. This team is ass. Now this is AFC East football. As terrible and ghastly as we all expect it to be without the Bills. Justin Fields is back, but is that really a good thing? He had 2 net passing yards in the first half. He's the tattered backpack meme at this point. People really need to stop making him a thing. And same for the Jets. Against them, Miami looked like their powerhouse of old. Tua was back to being old Tua. Cam Newton can eat his heart out. Their defense actually looked like a defense. The Dolphins are a walking joke and they still reinforce narratives. Lol Jets is immortal. Aaron Glenn talked about cultural overhauls and accountability, but the early returns have been rank. In fact, certain things have gotten worse. How many penalties are you gonna take, New York? Yes? Yes. This team doesn't just shoot itself in the foot, they come back and shoot themselves in the head. That's been their mantra since Nixon was in office, and tradition must be maintained. Especially to a dying Dolphin. The defense is this bad and Sauce Gardner's out here crying to the media. Oh, I'm getting picked on because I'm a child. Other teams get away with more. Eat a dick, man. Darren Waller's been living in the woods for like 3 years and he dominated you asswipes. Aaron Glenn will respond to such ineptitude by beheading several men in the locker room to put the fear of God in these underachievers. Speaking of that, there are people already calling for his head. It's too early for that shit, man. Aaron needs at least another month before Woody meddles as usual. Even in victory, Miami must suffer immensely. Tyreek Hill may be a cancer that's probably on the way out soon, but he's still an incredible talent. It's only a matter of time before he's a cheaper Steeler. Okay, maybe in Madden. Legs aren't supposed to bend like that. The poor souls that saw this life cringed a layer of skin off their body. Shades of Tank Dell, a dislocated knee and multiple torn ligaments. The legs all but shredded, and at Tyreek's age, that may very well be his career. Although we shouldn't count on Tyreek Hill from overcoming adversity. If there's one thing he's shown, he's very good at beating things. Now this is art worthy of the Louvre. 2 terrible football teams coming together to bring about an intriguing match for the handful of people watching with morbid interest. Both with serious questions to answer and doubters to prove wrong. That won't happen today, but it's about as must-win as it gets. For New York, they're merely following up that shocking upset of the Bolts. Who needs Malik Neighbors when you have Theo Johnson? And Jackson Dart, of course, guiding the G-Men to a 14-point surge. That's an absolute rarity for them. Maybe they have turned a new leaf for God, Lord! I've heard of self-destructions before, but this is some impressive stuff. Murphy's Law distilled into a little over 30 minutes. Whatever could go wrong did. How many offensive fuck-ups will the Giants make in a given drive? Tried to count, but I kept fumbling it like New York did. Even Kemp Scadaboo's making careless errors with the football offering New Orleans life. Inspired by Cafe Du Monde, the Giants are baking only the best apple turnovers in the city. The Saints aren't a good team, but they'll take advantage of an opponent doing everything to hand them a win. They try, and that's more than enough to get Kellen Moore his first win as head coach. He got his first win earlier than Aaron Glenn. That's honestly hilarious. Sometimes it's the little things that warm me on the inside. Game as ugly as it looks at first glance. Both teams understood the assignment, but Tennessee was much more equipped to come away with the loss. Gino's still a hot mess, and Ashton Jeanty's carrying the world on his shoulders, but against the tits, they may as well been their 2002 vintage. You aren't facing the bitch-ass Cardinals this week, Tennessee. The Raiders are powered solely on the back of Max Crosby, but that's more than enough to beat your useless pile of dung. In Las Vegas, it's just straight-up humiliation. Condensed into a few sticks of gum and chewed up for 60 minutes. The one suffering the most is obviously Cam Ward. Jeffrey Simmons, one of their locker room leaders, is publicly griping that the team had one of their worst weeks of practice before getting crushed by a paperweight. Why is Brian Callahan still here? I ask this every week, but it needs to keep being asked. The dude's honestly a team cancer from the outside looking in. Cut him out and let Tennessee heal. There's nothing else to say, I'm just beating a dead horse at this point. Get snippy with more reporters, Brian, it's totally fixing this shitty situation. There's one thing that amazes me after all these years. Zach Taylor has a richer coaching tree than Mike Tomlin. Zach Taylor is garbage that fluked to a Super Bowl thanks to Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. Apparently that's all it took for the Titans to buy into a coaching pump-and-dump scheme. The guy that didn't call plays in Cincy and was only notable for being the son of a former coach was a terrible hire? The guy who does nothing but throw his own players under the bus for his own ineptitude's a failure here? Color me shocked. I still don't get why he wasn't fired last January. At least at that point, you'd have had a new coach to work with your golden goose under center instead of making him run for his life and get destroyed under whatever the fuck this scheme is. The new regime could work in tandem instead of have to awkwardly coexist. But these are the Titans, and Amy Adams Strunk is about as savvy as her dad was in these matters. You have to wait until the cancer spreads everywhere in the organization. Well, the situation's untenable now. Bring out the guillotine! Off with this hack's head! Brian's legit one of the worst coaches in recent history with his bullshit. 4-19 with one of those wins thanks to an impeccable self-destruction. Botched like that 2-minute drill against the Colts. That alone is a massive addition by subtraction. Perhaps Cam Ward can be saved by the next man up. Until you realize Tennessee fires people like they're going out of style. Same shit's gonna keep occurring until you get rid of Butts' failed daughter and Chad Brinker. And that ain't happening until death. The rest of the AFC South rejoices at the thought. The Niners tend to end up in these games a lot, don't they? In fact, is there anything left of either team? Both are picking apart the bones of the UFL to reach a full roster right about now. San Francisco's forced to boot up the MAC yet again, and Tampa Bay's just Baker Mayfield on offense at this point. Seriously, nearly everyone else is in the infirmary, even Bucky Irving. But Emeka Egbuka's a beast, and he's hurt now too. Baker's out here throwing to Cameron Johnson, Sterling Shepard, and Tez Johnson and still finding a way to make it work. Mayfield carrying a franchise to relevance and silencing his few remaining haters with an elite performance. I dare say in contention for MVP in the early going. Mac Jones was serviceable and he had a good connection with Kendrick Bourne again, but Tampa Bay was simply relentless. They effectively silenced CMC and couldn't get much going in the end. They were the better team today. In the end, Baker drags the remains of the Buccaneer offense to a 5-1 record despite the cries of those he tramples. Oh, you thought the loss was the worst thing San Francisco would suffer today? No, my friends. They have a special punishment delivered for reasons of spite. Fred Warner falling to the sword. The heart and soul of their defense and most durable asset suffering a season-ending injury. How much more has to die for the Niners? I ask again, what deal with the devil did Kyle Shanahan make for the Millennium Falcon offense? It's the only explanation I've got for the misfortune that's followed him everywhere. Tank bulls are even better when the gods bless them with extreme elements. They were talking about a biblical epic earlier in the week. It wasn't that severe, but it was pretty miserable with strong winds. In these conditions, it honestly favored the Browns. Yet by this much? I knew the Dolphins were unbelievable shit, but even I didn't know they were lower than Cleveland. Think about that. Fucking Cleveland! The team that hadn't scored more than 17 points in a game all season. The team running a middle school offense with a GV quarterback salty at how well Flacco played on Thursday. Miami got gashed to bits by that. Quinshon Judkins had his breakout with most of his yards coming in one big run. He had 38 yards on 24 fucking carries otherwise. This is yet another pathetic performance from a team circling the drain. You can't defend Tua for this garbage anymore. Dude's so much ass, he's prime Shakira. Maximizing explosiveness and incredible throwing prowess to the other team. Once again, $52 million quarterback and he can't throw a football anymore. This may as well have been the end. He got pulled by a dead man walking for Quinn Ewers. And he did better than Tua. Cleveland finally gets some damn life, but Miami straight up festering in real time. If I'm Mike McDaniel, I'll be getting fitted for concrete shoes. He'll be swimming in the Cuyahoga before the team plane leaves. Imagine saying last year that these teams would be in a tank bowl. It's been that drunk of a campaign for both of them. But Lamar's back.
Unit ready.
Sight for sore eyes in Baltimore indeed. Even then, I doubt the Ravens needed him here. Miami was more than eager to step on landmines they had planted seconds before. I'm not even joking, it was a Thursday night showing of the Three Stooges featuring Tua, Greer, and McDaniel. The Dolphins are a poorly coached team through and through, all the way down to the servings of shit stew flung by zebras. This personal foul might legitimately be the worst penalty I've seen all year. Like Gordon fucking tripped on the field, what do you want him to do? He didn't need that, the whole goddamn team's tripping over themselves. Dominating long stretches only to randomly run up the gut 3 times, then airmail a fader out to the fucking running back. Really? To Achane? People are trying to get fired. There's no other explanation for this uninspired and lifeless drag. The perfect get-right game for a Ravens team on the mend. Lamar couldn't be stopped by a team with no corners and no pass rush. 4 TDs and King Henry firing on all cylinders. If you missed this one, consider yourself lucky you didn't miss a damn thing. If the season wasn't already over for the Dolphins, it just got a stake driven in its heart. I told you Miami was trying to get people fired. Just not the one you were expecting. Chris Greer's been all but squatting in the front office without paying rent for years on end. If you were to ask me why he wasn't getting alongside Flores despite being the one that should have gone, your guess is as good as mine. It's about 3 years too late, but Greer's gone the way of the dodo in Dolphin land. You know this guy was GM there for almost a decade? Never have I seen so much moving and shaking to build absolutely nothing of substance. Dude couldn't assemble an offensive line for shit. His defenses were incredibly flawed. Greer's been coasting on Bill O'Brien overpaying for Tunsil and the Niners throwing a bolt at them for Trey goddamn Lance. And he still couldn't build a team around them for shit. It doesn't matter though. Nothing does. Stephen Ross is still as much of a boob as he's always been, and the cycle will continue until he finally croaks. Mike McDaniel isn't going anywhere. He'll merely stick around to drag this corpse to the finish line and dig a grave. Then he'll be killed off too. Look, it was either this or Anthony Weaver as your interim coach. I'd choose the burnout husk of a man too. Gonna be a lot harder to get rid of Tua with that contract though. Fucking woof. Shit that blows up in your face like that buries a franchise before a shovel hits the ground. Worst concoctions of pigskin always take place at MetLife. Breakthroughs and horror abound between 2 terrible teams. In the MetLife lab, the Browns are finding new and exciting ways to lose football games. In their innovation, they discovered how to give up consecutive return touchdowns. Both a kick return TD and a punt return TD. No flags, just clean football against the factory of sadness. It gets better, too. They lost to a team that traded their 2 best defenders for futures days earlier. They lost to a team that had benched Quincy Williams. Best of all, they lost to a team without a quarterback. They fielded one even worse than your non-factor under center Cleveland. Yes, Dylan Gabriel was somehow the best QB on the field. He threw for more than 12 yards through the air. Justin Fields' biggest play was a 42-yard check down to Breece Hall. The rest was agony worthy of Tank Bull and Sparrow Ditas on the call. The Browns can't offense, we've known this. And every time Gabriel attempts to throw a pass more than 10 yards, we all cringe in disgust. Even without turning the damn ball over, it's a team preparing for Cancun come December. Yeah, the season's still going on by that point, but after this shit, you really had to lose the game on a hard count? A fucking hard count they were never gonna snap? God, the Browns really are useless. Clean fucking house. This season was wrecked the moment. Honestly, it ended last season. Jets win, but it's more or less by default. Still fucking hilarious. Oh, baby. Now this is the kind of shit show we need more of in the NFL world. Shedeur Sanders in his NFL debut against the Jets form of Geno Smith. Inject this shit right into my veins. Honestly, if Sanders was dogshit against these god-awful corporate raiders, we'd be calling for his release. But by doing the bare minimum, his fanboys will celebrate as if they won the Super Bowl here. Sorry, Gino, you're gonna fucking die today. I'm not joking. 10 sacks for a relentless Browns defense. How the hell do you get sacked 10 fucking times in the NFL? Myles Garrett has 18 sacks this season already, for God's sake. Although with this offensive line, yeah, get in the casket, Gino. But ignore all that. Look at this elite check down by Sanders. There is no one in this league that can make this throw. I dare you to name anyone who can. Against all odds, Cleveland wins easily, and I mean easily. Shadeur's the first rookie to win his first start for the Browns since their revival. That is some incredibly sad shit that becomes a Trivia Night question in a decade, mark my words. Chip Kelly with the Raiders will also be a Trivia Night question. $6 million a year for this shit? Who's not gonna use Ashton Ginty now? Who, I say? Kirk Cousins starting football games in 2025 against Tyler Shuck. We are all on the edge of our seats. Never figured the Falcons to be in a tank bowl this year, but crazier things have happened. Fortunately for Atlanta, a challenge by their opposition wasn't in the cards for today. The Falcons' defense would hold steadfast against quite subpar competition, if we're being honest. Greenhorn, Tyler Shuck, and a limited Alvin Kamara. How truly intimidating. Atlanta pulled ahead early, and against Mickey Loomis's aging and weak Warriors, they finally stopped the bleeding. It was comedy in its highest form for the rest of us watching. If anybody even bothered to care about this game happening. The Saints are trash, we've known this since last year. 2 missed kicks and 2 failed 4th down conversions. It's so bad they're trying out Justin Tucker. Incredible indeed. So the New Orleans tank rolls on, and Atlanta's brass gets to delude themselves into thinking they still have a chance to claim the division, even though the Panthers and Bucks would win tiebreaker. Well, let them have that false hope for once. Philip Rivers. 44-year-old Philip Dadgum Rivers, who hasn't played since Corona Chan was active. That's who the Colts are dragging out? Sure, why not? This year's already evolved into hell off the handrails. Why not bring out Uncle Phil to die to that gauntlet? God, this is so fucking desperate. Still be seeing Desmond Mitter or CJ Beathard flailing around out there. Didn't he sign a one-day deal with the Chargers over the summer to retire? True rookie QBs. In these conditions, with these limited and injury-devastated rosters, we're getting some finest slop this side of the Mississippi today, baby. Oh, it's some incredibly bad stuff today. Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland offense falling to endless ailments against Cam Ward throwing to... nothing. Seriously, his best receiver right now is Jamera fucking DK. So in the end, the game's gonna be mostly on the back of Tony Pollard. He went back to his cowboy form for this one against a stout unit for over 160 yards on the ground. This is not a drill. Tennessee has a lead in a football game. The Browns are crumbling under this incredible offensive might. An unbelievable sight has happened. The Titans have scored 31 points in a football game. The most they have all season. We thought Myles Garrett was gonna have 4 sacks. The dude didn't even have 4 pressures. But then we remember late. The Titans defense. Shadeur's got fanboys to rally, and he will to the tune of a bitterly quick touchdown to make it 1 score. They tried to go for 2 and failed. Sorry, boys. But don't worry, you have a bonus token for another drive. Nope. Shadeur's gonna be allowed to make this JV defense of the Titans break again for a touchdown late with a chance to tie. All they have to do is make this 2-point conversion.
After missing earlier for the tie, no Shedeur. It's Judkins on the direct snap. He was supposed to pitch it, but didn't and couldn't. And now he's going to have to throw it, and he does. And it's incomplete. And the Titans hold him off.
What the hell was that? Seriously, what the fuck did we just witness? I thought the swinging dirt that happened last year was terrible, but this play has me gunning for Stefanski's head. What the hell is your major malfunction, Kevin? You have another 2-point conversion? Let's not use the QB that led us there this time. I can't believe it. You're validating every conspiracy Shedeur fanboys have about you. I'm about to start screaming sabotage, and for what? Instant lol cow of the week honors? Do you want to get fired? The Titans merely take the win to salvage any sort of team morale. So this means the New York Giants now hold the first overall pick. They may want to rehire Shane Bowen right about now. How many quarterbacks does it take to screw in a light bulb in Berea? I'm not kidding, the Browns have gone through at least 50 of them and haven't found one that can. Please stay the way that you are. Eternal lol cow. Now move for me. The Giants need to know the assignment. Lose. And lose convincingly. They currently hold the first overall pick in the draft, and the team's gonna get desperate and trade a haul to cross the Mendoza line. Both these teams on unbelievably long losing streaks and devastated by injury. This is the kind of matchup that Tank Bowl's all about. Perpetual failure to execute even the most basic of assignments and the mindless fun of players competing for NFL jobs next year. For most of the contest, the commies have firm control of the situation. G-men are far too undermanned, and Terry McLaurin just scurried off for a 51-yard touchdown to take a 15-point lead. This is looking like an easy loss for a team eager to build for the future. Wait a minute. No. Giants. Wait! Stop! You're supposed to lose for glorious draft capital, not watch as the Commanders repeatedly implode into being a bad football team. Good Lord, they have a chance to tie the game late. We need a miracle.
We need to get to the Washington 30 for a first down. Dart throws, it's incomplete.
Thankfully, Jackson Dart's unable to will the Giants to any sense of momentum against Washington's where their D in their tank is maintained. The commies' long losing streak has finally come to an end, but at the cost of draft position. Super Tank Bowl will be taking place in 2 weeks. Giants versus Raiders. That match is gonna feed so many families that it'll single-handedly solve world hunger. This is the shit we crave. Failure versus failure. And one team must come up short by winning. An amazing sight. The spirit of Tank Bull infects us all in this glorious holiday season. You look forward to Christmas? I look forward to 2 shitty teams with god-awful offense at every turn. Although oddly both defenses are stiffening up to silence anything resembling an attack. It's pretty easy to do with the Jets being something under Brady Cook. New Orleans is at least budging the ball forward, but that first half was some ugly imitation ball. Things were sloppy as hell. Yet in the end, the Jets understood the assignment. Mickey Loomis wants to delude himself into thinking the Saints can still make a run with this score, so New York will allow him just that. Tyler Shuck gaining confidence by finding Chris Olave on repeat. New Orleans doubling up their opponent in yardage as they blow them away in the 4th quarter. You know the Jets still haven't recorded an interception on the year? It's week fucking 16. About as embarrassing as going 2 for 15 on 3rd down. Aaron Glenn staying put, but he's got to show something quickly. Dude's reaching Brian Callahan levels of inept at this point. What a slate the NFL's brought us for Christmas. 5 of 6 teams out of contention, and the first game's featuring the legendary Josh Johnson under center. Netflix treated this broadcast like a glorified preseason game, and honestly, that's how we should be seeing this. A fun little scrimmage where the Cowboys' offense could destroy whatever the hell the commies are throwing out on D these days. Shit, I think half their team's on Medicaid at this point. With Tyler Biadasz knocked out too, the other half's in a mortuary. It's a testament on how much Dak's unit's been completely wasted. 480 yards and 6 for 6 on 4th down. Great, it's a win against a long-dead opponent. Congratulations, here are your pity slices of prime rib. You can go on the back and gorge on the festering carcass, too. This Trayvon Diggs situation in Dallas has just been weird as fuck. No one actually knew how he got injured at his house, and it was from trying to set up a TV. Then he was out for God knows how long. Then he said he was healthy, but the Cowboys didn't want him out there? Now he apparently wanted to go away on Christmas break to be with his family, but Schottenheimer refused him. Trayvon said he'd go anyway, so Dallas just gave him all the time with them he wanted. He's been cut. Honestly, it feels like they just wanted to shed him due to his play. Kind of hard to justify that shitty defensive coverage when you aren't landing into a bajillion picks a year. So, anybody want a corner for their playoff push? Anybody? I mean, he's pretty much a body. Someone please take him. We've got a few matinee tank bowls to deliver to you, the viewing faithful before the main event. You know what that is. Why do I call this one a tank bowl despite the Bengals crushing bad teams with Joe Burrow on repeat? Have you seen the Cardinals' injury report? This is an entire goddamn starting lineup in the infirmary. Arizona refuses to purge a thing for their repeated failure, so the gods are doing it for them. You sit and wonder why the Bungles had next to no resistance here? Almost 430 yards of offense. And this was with coasting in neutral throughout the fourth quarter. Jacoby Brissett feeding Michael Wilson and Trey McBride for fantasy football. That's all the Cards are good for. The team checked out in September and got even worse the moment Brissett became a starter. What a pathetic way to send Calais Campbell out of the league. Yes. Yippee, another free win for Cincy. Although that's probably not the best for them. QBs in a showcase for the future. They'll both have starting jobs in 2026, but it's mainly a test of their development over this year. At least one of them more than answered the bell. Tyler Shuck's facing the equivalent of college defenses, so he'll sling like he did in college. And he's throwing to electricians, insurance salesmen, and Chris Olave. Look at these names: Audric Estime, Kevin Austin Jr., Maliki Matavao, and Dante Pettis. Pettis is still in the league? The Titans don't have much of anything either, but Cam Ward does well enough against the fossilized Saints D2. Trying in vain to match Tyler through the air, however, it won't be enough. The Titans already had their moral victory last week in beating the Chiefs. Shuck's gonna force New Orleans to victory by sheer willpower in the fourth quarter. Or it might just be Tennessee's suckitude. Leave it to the Saints to magically start winning games to end the year when it does absolutely nothing for their future. Sure, Tyler Shuck may be something, but all this does is give Mickey Loomis further entrenchment as teams are. Exactly what Saints fans want. Still better than what the Titans have in the executive branch. In preparation for the anti-championship game, there was a dilemma for the Raiders. Brock Bowers was already shelved for the year, but Max Crosby may be a thorn in their side. He's a man unwilling to conform for the future, proudly shouting from the Las Vegas mountaintops, "Fuck your tank! I'm a proud football player. I'm going to do my best and kick ass on the field whether it's a contender or one-win team." The Raiders can't put him out there. He'd sabotage their grand plans. So the brass simply said, "Fuck you, Max. Putting you on IR for your lingering knee injury. Go get surgery." Crosby was so moved by their decision that he stormed out of team headquarters and may never return. A soul for a soul. As it shall forever be. Everyone on IR for either side's gonna make this a disaster for the ages. The greatest matchup for us sickos in years. Super Tank Ball! I'm so proud of the Raiders. Their greatest victory in generations, and it came in a blowout loss. Everyone played a part in the Silver and Black's defeat. Geno Smith reinforced his legendary Jets form. Or his Giants form under Ben McAdoo, whatever you fancy. The defense repeatedly fell apart to long gains and touchdown drives. Jackson Dart saw the rumors about New York potentially looking at QB if they pick first overall, and he said, "Nope, you're fucking mine!" If only Shane Bowen were still here, but alas, all they get are Deontay Banks return TDs for the Raiders to win Super Tank Bowl. Geno Smith's injury is a devastating loss for their failing efforts, but I believe in Kenny Kitten Mittens. He will guide them to glory and become a legend in Raider lore. Lose, my friend. Lose, and your sacrifice will not be in vain. Las Vegas has a date with destiny next week. Crossing the Mendoza line is paramount. And their reward is the Giants' reminder of failure. Win when they're supposed to lose, lose when they're supposed to win. Worst of all, keeping Joe Shane when he's done little to justify it. The G-Men can do absolutely nothing right. Fortunately, they only fall to second overall in the draft. If they win next week, however, oh God. As for the Niners, well, if injury bulls were real, they'd be an honest-to-God dynasty. Another Niner was hurt during this presentation. As for seeding, San Francisco has to wait on the Rams to see where they stand. The final hurdle to cross the Mendoza line. Slop. Actual fucking slop with two blatantly tanking squads. Chris Oladokun and Kenny Pickett in a showcase of the Steelers' 2022 draft class. Oh my god, this is atrocious. Nobody can move the football more than a few inches at a time. Somehow the Raiders' defense is looking like their 2002 vintage, and the Chiefs are, well, the Spagnuolo Chiefs. Such a terribly ugly display of football that it devolved into AOC against Shane Buechele. Shane Buechele! He never took an NFL snap before this and he's getting premium reps. Is it any shock that neither team made it anywhere close to the end zone today? Only the most depraved take pleasure in such a display. That or they're forced to check a box. The game is neck and neck by sheer incompetence, but points are being scored. Harrison Butker kicks a field goal late to take the lead, potentially giving us beautiful scoregami in the process. But wait, the Raiders are moving down the field. Somewhat. It's the saddest comeback I've seen in an age, but Daniel Carlson has a chance to win it.
Snap there. Carlson swings. Carlson has it!
I would be screaming in righteous fury in a normal circumstance for a terrible team fucking up their tank, but with the Giants winning, there was no worry about it. The win was meaningless. The lower strength of schedule saved them in the end. Congratulations, Raiders. You have successfully crossed over the Mendoza line. 2025 Tank Bowl champions.
These guys suck!
Funny thing is, they weren't even trying to tank this year. They just sucked 17 shades of ass. The corporate Raiders finally did something right and it came in blatant losing. That's irony.